kind of a higher high school biology class, one that can prepare somebody for going into college. So it's kind of like we have a class similar to this at Columbia State's. It's called a concepts class. So we'll be kind of doing a concepts of biology class since biology is such a big field of science. So tonight we're just going to do some introductory stuff into biology, tell you what it is and some of the stuff you might see throughout the class. Anybody else? We have a anatomy and physiology with the TIS. Is anybody taking that?
Yeah, I think we are start offering in that anatomy.
Anybody sharing, like anybody here going to be taking both at the same time?
I believe the Alfonso. Yeah, I think three of them taking it.
Okay.
They
So you're
are
going to see a
taking.
lot of stuff kind of mirror that class too, especially with the night. We're going to go over I saw the biology hierarchy in the image that I was sent. So we're going to go over that tonight too. Do you want me to let them introduce themselves?
Okay,
Give me
Alfonso
the names.
or Indah, you can interact too. Okay, Alfonso, open your cam. Are you there?
I already talked to Alfonso earlier. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah. Okay, Alfonso, answer the question because you are the most, I think, active, and also you are the first one that taking that genetic class. Okay, so answer Professor Pan's question or information that he need.
Just give me your name or tell me your name and like what are you excited to learn about with biology?
I'm very
Okay,
excited about the biology because
go ahead, Alfonso. Speak loudly, loudly.
A little louder, yeah.
I would like to be I would like to be a doctor, and biologists are very interesting for me.
All right, cool. Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of biology if you want to be a doctor.
It must be great.
Okay, who is next? Indah, introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Indah. I excited to join this class because I think this class is important to my dream because my dream is to become a doctor and this learn is very interesting.
Thank you. Now we have Sitya still here. Sitya, go ahead.
My name is Nitya. I took this class because my dream is to become a doctor.
So we have three doctors or three potential doctors in here. That's impressive
Yeah,
for
yeah.
such a young age. Yes. So, like I said, if you want to be a doctor, before even the pre-med, you're going to be introduced to a lot of different biological background information. So this is going to be something you'll see if you become a doctor, you'll see for the rest of your life. Okay, so let me go ahead and get this lecture started and see where I end up at. So, like I said, I want to kind of teach it as an introductory into biology for somebody that's never really had a biology class before. So with biology, it is a science field. And with science, there is a definition for science that a lot of people don't really think about, but it is a field of study where somebody has to use data that they've collected to support an idea. And this data we can find in many different ways. We could test for it ourselves. We can research what other people have done, especially if it's something that we can't do ourselves. We can use information from somebody else that's already done the work for us as support. In the science fields, large pool of different sciences. So biology is a field of science. Some of these other ones you might have heard or might have taken classes for. Chemistry is another good one. Mathematics, physics, computer science, geology. Every one of these fields has somebody doing research. They're collecting data on what they're studying, and they're using that data to support an idea. If you don't have data to support the idea, then it's not going to be science. It's going to be fiction, pretty much. You don't have that supporting information that you're collecting. Now, with biology itself, biology is a very big field. So it's a large, think of, this is what I tell the class. Think of biology as an ocean, and the ocean is full of water, and the layers of water are different fields of science. So we have things like ecology and cell biology and histology, biochemistry. The farther you go down in the ocean, the deeper and deeper each one of these fields or denser the information is going to get. Okay. So we'll go over a few different types of biologies that we'll see in the class. And again, if you're going to be a doctor, you're going to see a lot of these fields. So one type of biology that a lot of people like to study is called cell biology, or the official name for it is called cytology. So cytology is looking at the way cells grow and how they interact with other cells. So this is mostly a microscopic field of science because most cells are too small to see with the naked eye, meaning you have to use a microscope to see those cells. So for example, here are a couple cells that I have from, I think it's from chapter 6, the cancer chapter. So that first cell you see is actually going through a process called mitosis. It was originally one cell, and you can see it splitting off into two different cells. So mitosis would be a good example of what you would study or look at when you look at cytology. What's this one right here that's right next to it? This is a what an egg cell looks like right after it's fertilized. So this is from a sea urchin. So the sperm and the egg actually fuse together, and what was one solid cell has now become this cluster of cells. And then, like us, we're made up of trillions of different cells. So if you wanted to study the human body, you would have to know each one of our cells and how they look, or how different they look from each other, and how they function in relations to one another. And that would all be cell biology or cytology. Looking away from humans, there is a whole microbiology class related just to bacteria. So bacteria are just one single celled organisms. So again, most bacteria are very small. You can't see them with the naked eye, so you would have to use a microscope for those. So that's why it's called microbiology, because you have to use a microscope for it. Another type of biology that you might see, especially if you're going to be a doctor, is going to be this one here called tissue biology, or technically the name for it's called histology. So histo is another word for tissue. And I'm going to show you an image here in a little bit for what's called the biological hierarchy. So cells is one level, and it's actually the small level. But when you start adding cells together, you're going to get to the next level up. And then when cells come together and they work for the same function, that's called tissue. So each one of these types down here are a different type of tissue made up by different cells. So these are all muscle tissue. We have skeletal muscle, which is what we use to move around with. So think about what's in your arms and your legs. We have smooth muscle. This is what's in like our digestive tract and our blood vessels. And then we have cardiac muscle. This is what's found in the heart. So each one of these different tissues move something for us in our body. That's why it says muscle tissue. But if you look at them under a microscope, they all look a little bit different. This is why we have to classify them differently, because the skeletal muscle looks a little different than the smooth muscle, which looks a little different from the cardiac muscle. And then these are just a few examples. You have much more in the human body. You have nervous tissue in the brain, the spinal cord. You have epithelial tissue, that's what's found in your skin. You have connective tissue that holds your body together, keeps it functioning. So again, histology, if you're going to be a doctor, you're going to see a lot of this. Okay, some of the other types of sciences that you may have heard of, we have one designated just for animals. Animal biology is called zoology or zoology. And then, like I said, think of zoology as like a pond of water, and there are levels to zoology. So if you're just looking at mammals and how mammals work, that's mammalogy. If you want to look at fish and just fish alone, that's ichthyology. Ornithology is called bird biology. Herpetology is for reptiles, and then entomology right there is for insects. So again, each one of these fields are respective to those animal types. You wouldn't want to be a bird biologist and study animal, or my bad, study mammals. So you would want to pick the field and stay in that field. Interesting, what's on this screen here is the one I like to go to is that one with the rats. So you see the rats right there, they're glowing. This goes back to the genetics class that we kind of talked about last semester. They actually put jellyfish DNA that makes jellyfish glow in the dark. They put that inside of rat eggs or rat embryos, and they allowed for the cells inside the rats to use the same DNA as the jellyfish. So if you put them under a black light, they glow in the dark. So all that right there would be under zoology and also genetics. So if you want to be a doctor, you probably won't be looking at this type of biology a lot, but this is a very important type of biology. It's called plant biology or botany. So botany and the way plants work is very important for us because all life on our planet is supported by photosynthesis. There is no what's the word I'm looking for? Recyclable energy that animals can make. Animals have to eat their own food. They can't make their own food. So we actually have to use plants that can harness the sunlight to make energy to support our energy. So we might be a meat eater, but the meat that we are eating, say from fish, they're eating from microscopic algae that are using sunlight for energy. So it's a transfer of energy. If all plants were to disappear, all photosynthetic life on the planet was to disappear, life would probably stop on the planet because there's no way to get any renewable source of energy because there would be no photosynthetic organisms anymore. Besides that energy input, a lot of our food and our clothing and our shelter come from plants as well. So again, it's a good idea to keep track of how the plants are adapting and changing to our planet. That way we can help them adapt and change, that we don't lose potential food, potential clothing, potential housing materials, because we're going to need that, especially the humans are increasing more and more each year. Okay, so here's that biological hierarchy I was talking about a second ago. So it starts at a very small level, and each time you step up, you get a little bit bigger. So we'll look at a little bit, we'll actually kind of start at the bottom of this level with the course for the next few lectures and work our way up. So the very smallest level that you can look at are atoms. So atoms technically are not living. I'll get to what that means in a minute, but atoms are not, they're the smallest building block of matter, but they're not the smallest building block of life because technically they're not alive, it can't be living. If you take atoms and put atoms together, so let's say you have oxygen and hydrogen, they come together, that makes water. And water is going to be a molecule because it's a combination of two different atoms. And then a step up from molecular, you have technically the organelle level. So the organelle think about them as little functional units or organs for your cell. You probably heard of the mitochondria. You probably heard of a nucleus. So these are organelles, and without those organelles, the cell could not function. And then when you put all the organelles together, you're going to be here at this level. So these are cells. So cells are going to be the smallest unit of life. So these technically are living. You can't get any smaller than cells for a living organism. When it comes to bacteria are free cells, meaning it's one cell for one organism. But when you get up to things like plants and animals, we're going to be multicellular, meaning that we're made up of many cells. A human is roughly 1 trillion cells put together. I talked about this a while ago. So histology was the study of tissue. So if I was to take all the cells of one type that look very similar, put them in the same area, and they're doing the same function, that would be tissue. So humans are made up of nervous tissue, muscle tissue, connective tissue, and epithelial tissue. And each one has its own function. We'll talk about that maybe later in the semester. But when you get tissues together and a combinations of tissues working for the same function, that's an organ. So many organs in the body are famous. You have the brain, you have the heart, the lungs, the liver. So all these organs in our body are a combination of tissues, which are a combination of cells. So again, you can trace them back down the levels. If you take all the organs in your body and you put them together, you're going to get an organism. So you individual, you are an organism, and you have to thank for that, all the organs in your body working together. So every organism is a little bit different, but with humans, we actually have 11 systems. And those 11 systems work together to make the organism. When you come up one more level, you have ecology, and there's different levels of ecology. So ecology is how something interacts with their environment. So if it's just you in your house, technically that's ecology because it's you reacting inside of your house, which is your environment. If you have a fish or a goldfish in a bowl, you can actually study the fish and how it lives in that one fish bowl. That's ecology because it's the organism and how it interacts with its environment. So other levels of ecology, the population level, this one here, the population level means organisms of the same species. So you heard of the human population. That's why it's called population, because it's just the humans that we're looking at. If you do, what do they call it, a census, you count everybody in the country. That's just looking at the human population. You don't look at dogs. You don't look at the pigeons. You don't look at the cows. You just focus on humans. But if you go up to the next level, community level, this is going to be looking at different species within that community. This is where you would want to look at you, the dogs, the cats, the cows, anything in the one particular area that's living, that would be that place's community. A community is going to increase to an ecosystem when you start looking at non-living structures. So let's say that you are in a city and you start looking at the community, you're looking at the cats, the dogs, maybe the birds in the city. If you start looking at the air quality, the soil content, the water quality, that's going to be the ecosystem of that city because you're looking at the living organisms plus those non-living organisms. And then finally, when you take all the ecosystems on the planet and you put them together in one big sphere, which is going to be our planet, that is called a biosphere. And the biosphere is what right now is currently supporting our life on the earth.
So if they want to be a doctor, okay, so maybe they are studying the organism level.
Right here. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, they're probably not going to focus too much after that organismal level if they want to be in the medical field. They'll spend a lot of their time on cell, tissue, organ, and organism. If somebody wanted to be a marine biologist, though, it's a popular one here in the United States, they would have to go on to ecology, population ecology, community, and ecosystem if they wanted to be, say, a marine biologist. They'd have to know it all.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So I threw this one in there because it's a common problem with biology today is that, again, biology is the study of life, and there's a lot of living organisms on the planet. One problem with this is we don't know how to classify everything. We're constantly finding new species. And if we find a new species, where does it go? Okay. So this is kind of a way to keep everything organized for nice and pretty placements. So this is called a taxonomic level. So there's one very big broad level that everything can be placed into, almost everything can be placed into. And then from there, you're going to start branching down to get more specific. So the very top up here, this is the most broad that you can put something in. It's called a domain. And there's really 3 domains: eukarya, prokarya, and archaea. So like with the humans are right here, right? See human? We are eukarya. We'll get to this later. Again, it's kind of a big jump, but eukarya means that we have a nucleus. Everything in this box that you see eukarya means if you were to look at a cell in that organism, you will find a nucleus. Okay, kingdoms are a step down, so we're getting a little bit more specific when you look at kingdoms. There's not as many kingdoms, but you have animal kingdom, plant kingdom, let's see, protista kingdom, bacteria kingdom. So this one's the animala, or the animal kingdom. So everything you see in this box is going to be an animal. And does anybody know how would I define an animal? If you had to pick, how would you define an animal? Anybody have an idea?
Alfonso, how you define an animal? Anybody? Indah, Cynthia, Noel, honey, how you define an animal? Let's take an
Yeah, it's
example.
not a hard question. How would you, like, if you saw something on the side of the road, if you wanted to say it's a plant or animal, how would you say the difference?
From the sound.
What was that? Is it growl?
From the sound.
Okay, the dog bark. That's what it
Okay,
said.
from the sound. Okay.
Sound. Yeah.
Well, how about this? Let's look at this box here with the eukarya. All these names are matching, except when we get down here, we lost paramecium and we lost tree, right? So paramecium, you probably don't know what that is just yet, but that's a very small cell. It's a single cell little guy, and we lost tree, right? So what's a tree? Why would we take the tree out?
All right, Indah.
What could a tree do that we can't? And we know that word I'm looking for?
Indah. The tree cannot walk, right?
Some trees can walk. Did you know that? Some trees can walk.
Yes.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. So the word I'm looking for is called photosynthesis. Everybody know what that word means? Photosynthesis? It means it can use sunlight, right? It can feed itself. So the paramecium can also kind of do something very similar. So everything here in this box means it has to eat. It can't make its food. Dog, wolf, coyote, fish, snake, earthworm, moth, they have to eat. They have to put something in their body in order to survive. The tree, it doesn't have to do that. The tree is called photosynthetic. Okay, coming down to phylum. So again, we're getting more specific now. With phylums, this specific one is called chordata. So I will say chordata means back or backbone. So if you look at the animals that are still left in the box, every one of these animals is going to have a backbone. So if you were to look at their skeleton, you would see some bones in their back. And if you look what we lost the earthworm and we lost the moth. And they're going to be insects, and insects don't have bones. Okay, coming down the class, we have mammalia. So that means mammals. So dog, wolf, cow, coyote, fox, bat, whale, all these are mammals. We lost the fish and the snake because of fish are fish. Snake's a reptile, right? Order, getting more specific, we have carnivora. Carnivora means meat eaters. So dog, wolf, coyote, fox, lion, and seal, they all eat meat. Humans were technically omnivores. We can eat both plants and animals. But the mouse, the whale, and the bat, most of them eat vegetable or plankton. So they're not meat eaters. Canidae, that's the dog family. So dog, wolf, coyote, and fox. These are technically dog-shaped. Canis, dog, wolf, and coyote. These can actually interbreed with each other. And then with the species, when you get down this very last one here, species, it's the most specific. So you should only find 1 to 2 in the species box. Dogs and wolf are one of the exceptions where you find 2 because dogs and wolf are the same species. You can take any wolf and any dog and they can breed together. That's why they can have puppies. That's why they're the same species. So, but if you come up here to fox and dog, foxes and dogs, they can't have puppies together. They wouldn't be able to breed. Now, if we find something new on the planet, we would want to know where it would go on this taxonomic level. That's why we have it. So we can just place them in order where they go. That way we're not losing track of them.
So if they want to be a doctor, they basically talk more into domain like that human.
So if you want to be a doctor, you're probably not going to be looking at this specific. So like this one's the kingdom right here, Animalia. You wouldn't be looking at that as a doctor. There's a kingdom bacteria, and with the bacteria and diseases, there would be a whole nother list for bacteria that the doctors would need to know. Yes. Yeah. And
Oh, wow.
mhm.
Yeah.
And then
So the
I will
bacteria
say
is
that
in, sorry,
with
bacteria
bacteria,
will,
go
yeah.
ahead.
Which one are they?
Which one? What? Bacteria?
Yes.
Bacteria, see the domain, they would be prokaryotes. So we're CEUK, it would be
Uh-huh.
PROK. So they're prokaryote.
Mm.
So
So they
bacteria
basically,
don't have a nucleus. It's like, so
yeah.
again, everything in this box has a nucleus.
Uh-huh.
Bacteria lack a nucleus. That's why you don't
Ah,
see bacteria in that box. They have a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
nother one that they have for them. And with
Mm.
bacteria, they have the most species on the planet. So I think roughly, what was that number?
Million?
Million, over a million, yeah, over a million different species because they can change DNA so quickly. They're
Oh
constantly
my.
adapting and changing. Yep.
Oh.
That's one problem
Oh,
with doctors and medicines is they have to come up with new medicines when the doctor or when the bacteria changes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So this medical field is really very liquid. I mean, it
It
can
is.
change, follow the bacteria, a new like
Yes.
COVID, right? COVID,
It's
we don't have
constantly
it before.
changing. Yes. What's a good
Oh,
example? A good example, uh, tuberculosis. Everybody know what tuberculosis is? TB.
hmm,
So tuberculosis before we had antibiotics was the number one killer of humans.
right, right.
And then we kind of found antibiotics and antibiotics brought down those numbers from the deaths. But
Hmm,
now tuberculosis has mutated and tuberculosis is becoming resistant to most of our antibiotic strains. So you're
right.
seeing a lot more people today dying of tuberculosis just because we can't find a medicine to kill it right now.
And then they call superbug.
Yes, superbugs.
Oh my goodness.
Tuberculosis. What's another one?
So
Syphilis.
okay, so Professor Pan, this is very interesting, all right? Now, the bacteria change very fast, all
Hmm.
right? And, like COVID, they have a new variant, you name it. Okay, we call it COVID-19, but variant A, B, C, D, E, F within weeks, okay?
Hmm.
Now, on the other hand, okay, the training to be a doctor, it takes years, all right? So sometimes we cannot keep up with all these things that are going on.
You're
What is your
exactly right.
reaction?
Yes. This is why a lot of doctors they have research stations in the hospital.
Mm,
That way they
mm,
can go to a source of information. Because you're
mm.
exactly right. If somebody comes in with symptoms they've never seen before, they've
Yes,
never heard of before, they need to have a database where they can search what's going on to see if anybody else on the planet has seen something like this.
yeah. So the blood test will help them, right?
Hmm. Yeah, so blood tests can eliminate a lot of possibilities. It could tell you what strand individual is a person or what strand is in that individual if they have virus or
Right.
bacterial, fungal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They call it new strain of COVID, like blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Hmm.
And the next
There's
week,
been
even,
several.
it's different from country, like African COVID, they call it, right? At one point. Okay. And another, I mean, so this field, the medical field, is really liquid and can change within seconds. Okay. It may, like you said,
Hmm.
okay, it may destroy human, okay, like that in a minute, okay, like COVID. And suddenly, people travel, I do not know, people say originally from country A, when people travel, with the air, they bring it to country B, C, and suddenly it all, okay, COVID. Okay, so I think the medical field is very, very important, interesting, and yet challenging. So
Hmm.
it takes so much of energy, motivation, and the will to help human. Okay, can be a good doctor. Not like, oh, I want to be a doctor because A, B, C, D. Okay, I mean, it's just tough.
Yes,
Still.
and I will say that if somebody does become a doctor and they goes through all those years of training, during those training years, you are taught to adapt and to learn what's because you're as you're
Mm,
learning, all the information is going to be coming in new too. So you're having
Yeah.
to learn old information plus new information. So when you do become a doctor, you'll be kind of used to all this new information that you're going to be bombarded with. Because, like you said, the COVID's already changed again. It is adapting to its own individual areas. So the U.S. has their own little variant over here. The Asia variant will be over there. African variant will be over here because they're isolated right now, and we don't want them swapping like it happened years ago with the pandemic.
Yeah. 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 So again, guys, okay, it is very important. You can make a lot of contribution to this humanity through this medical field. But okay, you have to act fast because the bacteria will not wait for you. Like when the strain, okay, when the new strain occur, all right, it doesn't say, okay, wait a minute. You can say bacteria, okay, wait, I'm going to learn first. Yeah,
No,
nobody is going
you
to.
have to learn as it's doing. Yes, you have to be as fast as it.
Yes. So, guys, okay, your attitude need to be changed, okay? If you cannot even open the cam while in this class, how can how can you overcome? The open cam is the least effort that you can do, like Noel, okay? If you cannot open your cam, how can you all right, expect to deal with a bigger problem? That's the reason why I always said to them, open your cam, open your cam. This is just a simple thing because you are in a profession that changes all the time within seconds. Okay. So have this attitude, guy. All right. Now, this is 8 a.m. All right. Some of you just read that, the message in WhatsApp. All right. Just read it. Okay. You need to keep up. You need to read everything. Okay. Nobody tell you. Okay. The bacteria will not tell you, I'm coming, knocking your door. With that in mind, go ahead, Professor Fan.
Okay, so
Sorry.
just to refresh, this is the taxonomic level, right? The broadest level, the very first level, are domains. So the broadest level, you're not going to see that many options. So I'm not going to go through all of them. But with the domains, you see three and only three. You see the bacteria, the archaea, and the eukarya. So bacteria can also be called prokarya, which means that they do not have a nucleus. Archaea are very similar to bacteria. They don't have a nucleus, but with archaea, they have a little bit different of a plasma membrane. Plus, many of the archaea species are what we call extremophiles, meaning that if you were to look at places on our planet where you don't think you could live or anything else on the planet could live, you actually can find living organisms there. So if you look at image B shows you a geyser. That geyser is boiling water. And that boiling water, if you were to test it, you will find living microorganisms in it. And those living microorganisms have adapted to survive in that boiling water. And most of those extremophiles that can survive in that temperature or environment are going to be the archaea species. We actually have archaea in our body. So with our stomach acid is around 2.0 pH, meaning that if you were to swallow something alive, it would kill it. Except if you look in your stomach, you will find bacteria, and that bacteria that can live in that pH is going to be those archaea bacteria. And then finally, the biggest or one of the biggest domains is the eukarya. So with eukarya, if you look inside of the cell, you will find a nucleus with DNA. And then, like I said a while ago, we are technically eukarya because if you were to look at a cell of ours, you will find a nucleus in it. And then
Okay,
this is
yeah, sorry. To be a doctor, they need to know all this, different kind of, domain of life, okay, to be able to cure them. Now, I think from the general knowledge, if we or somebody get the flu, okay, the flu, and the doctor say you cannot take like antibiotics will not do any good for you. Is that kind of makes sense?
That's 100% accurate. That does make sense. Yes.
So the COVID caused by bacteria or what is the other one? Bacteria and virus.
COVID is caused by a retrovirus.
Viruses.
Yes.
Virus. Okay.
Viruses are debatable whether or not they are technically a living organism, because viruses are extremely small. So let me see if I can draw something really quick. So think of this circle as your cells. So this roughly the size of one of your cells, right? In relationship, a bacteria cell that's inside of your body, it would be roughly that size. It's about a 100th of a size of your cell, and a virus would be that there. A virus is a 100th of a bacteria cell. So viruses are extremely small. It's very hard to kind of see a virus with a microscope. You have to have a special type of microscope. So a lot of people, and there's other reasons why too, but a lot of people don't consider viruses living. And then with antibiotics kill or stop bacteria growth, but they don't have any effect on a virus. So that's why if you have COVID or a flu, it would be a bad idea to take antibiotic, because all the antibiotic is going to do is weaken your body, and it's going to help the flu.
So they are not, classified into one of these three domain viruses?
Viruses have their own thing. They have their own naming schemes, but they wouldn't be in the taxonomy just because a lot of people don't consider them living organisms. But COVID, what's COVID called?
COVID.
I can't think of what's
The
called.
viruses.
Okay. Think about the bird flu, right? Everybody heard of the bird flu? The bird flu. The bird flu is H1N1. So that H1N1 flu.
Oh yeah.
That's how you name a virus. COVID has. I just don't think I can't remember what COVID is. You have H1N5. That's the swine flu. So that's how you would classify and name viruses based on their taxonomy. They wouldn't be in this naming scheme, but they have their own naming scheme.
No, my goodness.
Just
There are millions of them, right?
Huh? There's millions of viruses, yes.
Millions, yeah.
Viruses are host specific, they're organ specific. So let's say your dog has a flu, your dog can't get you sick because that flu can affect your body. If you have the flu, like a lot of people said their dogs would get COVID with them. That shouldn't happen because the COVID is going to be specific to a human. It should not have passed on to a dog.
Right. Now, this is very interesting. People say that COVID-19, okay, the original from the bats, okay, bats that flying bats. People eat it, and then it turned to human. Did you hear that kind of story?
I haven't heard that, but I can see that. Okay, so bird flu, right? I was talking about the bird flu.
Right. Bird flu also,
swine flu. In the swine flu.
Yeah.
Why do you think we have those two names? Bird flu and swine flu.
What is this?
What's a bird we eat?
HRN or something like that. Because I'm doing research on the bird flu. I know that.
Okay, what bird? What one of the common birds is it found in? Did you come across that? Did you come across chickens?
Yeah.
Do we eat chickens?
Yeah. It coming from the bird, and then it infected all the chicken, and the flock need to be killed.
Yep,
because there's no cure.
Because when there's that many, okay, think about chickens, right? We have millions of chickens in one area when we farm them or we want to grow them. One of those chickens with the bird flu, it could jump to human just because there's so many of them. It's not impossible, but we use the word improbable. So that's why we call it bird flu, because it did jump from chicken to human. The swine flu jumped from pigs to human, because similar setup there, you have hundreds of million or thousands of pigs in one area because they're being farmed. And then those pigs in one area, if one got sick, it could jump to a human just because of how many are there. So you said it was bats from COVID? Yeah. So that makes sense. That does make sense to me, yes.
Yeah. So it is truly interesting to learn. Even I think Okay, the general public need really to know all this first chapter, okay, to prevent them. They say, it's chicken, it will not help affect it, me in any way, but it does. It
It
can.
does, yes, you can, yeah. Again, it's not impossible, but it is probable if you have so many in one area.
Mm.
So let's
Mm.
let's keep that virus idea in mind, where viruses technically are not living, and look at this slide here. So this slide that I have shown right now is showing you the requirements for life, because biology is a study of life, and
Yeah.
what should we be studying to be considered living, right? There are different kind of requirements, but these are the kind of general ones that everybody accepts. So these are the requirements for life: growth, movement, reproduction, what's called response to stimulus, metabolism, and homeostasis. Okay. So we'll look at these individually. So with growth, something that's alive should be able to grow. And growth should occur on two levels: mitotic level, which is cellular level, and then the organismal level. So with mitosis, I showed this figure earlier, but this cell used to be one single cell. And now this part here you see in the middle, that's where it's dividing. And that's a process called mitosis. So cells usually like to say a certain size. And if they get too big, that signals for them to divide in half, because they shouldn't get any
Split.
bigger. Yes.
Uh-huh.
And then as you divide and make new cells, you're going to make that mass or that area bigger. And this is how you as an organism grows. So you start out as a little bitty kid, and then you grow up to an adult. That's because the cells in your body, they double in number. And then when they double in number, they have more area to put stuff in. And the stuff that they're putting in is going to be kind of sugars, fats, proteins, water. All this stuff has more space now. And you yourself get bigger as your cell number increases. Okay. So that's one requirement that things must need to do, is grow. Another requirement is movement. So movement with humans is very easy to see because we have muscles, and all animals actually have muscle tissue. Well, let's say most animals have muscle tissue because they can pick up and move around, right? So our arms, our hands, our legs, all these have muscles, and they allow us to move. Other organisms that are technically living need to meet this requirement as well. So if you think about bacteria are microscopic, and they have structures that can move them. So this long tail you see coming off this bacteria, that's called a flagella. It can actually make the bacteria swim. These little bristles you see, these are called, you see pili here, but they're also called cilia. Cilia can whip back and forth, and they think about fins of a fish, right? When they whip, they can actually use that to move around in their media. Plants are something a lot of people don't see movement with, but have you ever noticed if a plant is covered up with a shade, it can curve around the shade and go towards light? That's because it can actually sense light, and it can turn and curve towards the light. It also has the ability to pull water from soil. So as it pulls water from the soil, it's going to push it up to the leaves, and that's also going to satisfy the movement because it can move water through itself.
Oh my goodness, it's amazing.
Okay, another one is reproduction. So reproduction again occurs on both the cellular level, and the organismal level. So when cells duplicate with the mitotic event, that's replication of a cell. But mainly the replication here in this case means organismal replication, meaning from adult to offspring. So each one of these images has an adult to offspring. You see the parent hippo, the baby hippo, the parent flamingo, the baby flamingo. And then this guy right here, this is the parent tree, and the guys in the background are the baby trees. So every organism needs to be able to make an offspring in some way. The response to stimulus is how you adapt to your environment. If you're going to be a doctor, this is going to be important because you are going to be looking at diseases, and diseases are a change in the body, and that's how your body responds to a change. Animals have a nervous system. So we have a brain, a spinal cord. We're able to pick up on these changes. Plants, again, plants are kind of harder to see. But like I said a while ago, if you had a plant, if it was covered up in the shade, it can actually curve around and grow towards light. That's because it has little receptors inside the leaves, kind of like our eyes. It can pick up on the light and it curves and grows towards that light. And then adaptation is the ability to change to that stimulus. So adaptation is something that you're built with. So let's say that you move from a high sea level to a low sea level, you're going to have a much easier time breathing. If you were to go from a low sea level to a high sea level or very top of a mountain, you're going to have problem breathing because of the oxygen levels. But if you stay up there for a while, months, you'll breathe normally because you do a process called adaptation.
So the doctor is need to react on the stimulus, basically.
Yes, so there's one more after this one called homeostasis. Let me get to that one, and then we'll come back to that question. Metabolism is another one that something has to do. So metabolism is a word that everybody's probably heard of before, but they don't really understand what it means. So metabolism is the sum of chemical equations in your body. A lot of people say I have bad metabolism or I have slow metabolism or good metabolism. What's really accurate is fast and slow, because somebody has a faster metabolism if they are using energy and breaking down the energy, and they have a slower metabolism if they are storing energy. So if you eat your food and you don't use it, you store it away from later. That's a slow metabolism. If you eat your food and you get up and go exercise or you do a physical activity, that's faster metabolism because you're using the energy you just put in your body. I have a picture of the digestive tract up here in our body. This is how our metabolism gets, or how we feed our metabolism. So what you eat slowly makes its way through this tract. From here, it goes into the bloodstream, and then you're going to be using that to build your metabolism, either use it for energy or store it for later. And then you have to get rid of everything you don't use because it would wind up being toxic if it stays in your body. Go ahead, Ari. You have a question?
So sugar make it fast metabolism? Sugar. People drink a lot.
It's according to so if you drank something with a lot of sugar and you don't do nothing, you just sit down, you're going to have the slower metabolism because you're going to save it. Your body like, okay, he fed me, but I don't need it right now, so I'm going to put it back for later. But if you drink something sugary and then you get up and say walk a while, you're going to be using it because you have it there for you to use, and you're making energy. Yeah.
So the sport drink like Gatorade, you know, people drink a lot when they exercise. That's how it is.
Yes, that's exactly right. They're putting that sugar in their body to help them get energy.
However, when they drink a lot of, consume a lot of sugar and they stand still, they're not active, that create a problem with diabetes.
It does, yes.
Diabetic.
Yes,
oh,
that's because the body goes like, I don't want the sugar anymore. I don't need it. And then you don't make insulin anymore. And then if you don't make insulin anymore, you're diabetic now.
So the cure for diabetic is really easy. Get exercise, get active, and
that's
consume less.
For type 2. For type 2 diabetes, yes. For type 1, there is no cure, but type 2, technically, yes. And this last one here, I'll finish off with this. This is homeostasis. This is the ability for your body to go back to normal if you change. So this is important for doctors because if the body goes away from homeostasis and does not go back to normal, that is the definition of a disease. So diseases prevent homeostasis. So if you're a doctor or want to be a doctor, this is something that you will see every day. So with homeostasis, most of the things in our body are called negative feedbacks, meaning that they want to get the stimulus away from the body and go back to normal. So one thing that we're constantly having to do, especially if you're in a hot area, is if your body was to get too hot, what would your body do to help you cool off?
Sweat.
You sweat, right? So that's what sweating is. It's homeostasis. Your body is hitting that high. If you were to stay at that high, you're going to have tissue damage. So you sweat, and the sweat cools you off. Your body gets too cold. What do? You shiver, right? And shiver makes energy, which makes heat, and that brings your body temperature back up to normal. So both of these two things are maintaining homeostasis. That way your body temperature remains normal and you don't have any damage over time. Right. Not just body temperature, you have blood sugar, you have blood pressure. these are two things that doctors check constantly because they go away from normal and they don't like to go back to normal. So hypotension, hypoglycemia, all things like that would be something doctors would have to look at with their patients constantly.
Mm.
And then this
So
is
I think
I
it is
have a set
very
of review
important.
questions. So what?
Yeah. This is very important for general
Yeah.
public. Go ahead.
Homeostasis is a very important topic that we'll probably look at in almost every chapter. This last
Yeah.
slide here is for y'all throughout the week. So we don't meet next week, so you have 2 weeks to work on this. But every one of these questions can be answered with information from the PowerPoint.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So the
Yeah, you don't have to
PowerPoint,
look very far. Yep, you don't have to look very far. It's going to be somewhere in the PowerPoint to answer these questions.
Yeah. So
Does
make
anybody have
sure,
any
guys,
questions
that
for me?
you have the okay. Make sure, guys, that you download. It will be in the chat, right?
Yeah, I'm going to try to get in the chat. Yes.
Yeah. So Alfonso, if you get it, you can send it through the WhatsApp because some of
Mhm.
them may not be able to do it. They come late. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good. Okay, Ken. Thank you so much, Professor Pence, because this is 9 o'clock, and then they have, some of the kids is already waiting for the Mandarin class.
All right.
It's
I
good
will
for
let them go on. I will see everybody in 2 weeks. Okay.
them. All right. We see you then. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Stop by.
Hey, bro.
Bye-bye.